looking at.
It's Dolly Parton and 9 to 5 here on 1FM 91.3. Good morning to you and welcome to the Brightside. It's a Monday morning, which means we welcome to the studio Singapore's very first happiness scientist, Yeo Sha-En. Welcome back, Sha-En.
Yay, thanks for having me back.
Now, phrases like, don't be such a girl, not a real man, you're weak, boys don't cry. I think, boys and men have heard all of these being said to them all their lives. And as a mom of three boys, I call them guys, I am guilty of saying something similar to my boys as well, not realizing the impact such phrases can actually bring. And that is what we're discussing today, toxic masculinity. We have back, of course, #1 best-selling author, 2 times TEDx Speaker, and also the founder of Happiness Scientist, Sha-En Yeo. Morning.
Morning.
So, Sha-En, can you define what toxic masculinity is? Why is it so important for us to be aware of it?
Yeah, toxic masculinity involves like cultural pressures for men on boys to behave in certain ways. So like when Lavinia says boys don't cry, these are stereotypes, right? And it's the picture that if you, and we think about it from young, when children fall down, when boys fall down, we say, hey, stand up lah. What's the problem? But when a girl falls down, it's like, yeah, why you okay no? Sayang. So even our response perpetuates this from a very young age.
I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of that with my boys. I feel so bad now.
Yeah. I often hear, be a man,
Yes,
with
exactly.
boys. Whereas with girls, you never really hear that at all.
Right. I mean, there are 3 defining characteristics. One is toughness, that you must always be tough, whether it's physically or emotionally. And your behavior must always have that bravado. And then the other one is anti-femininity. I know that's a big one, but it's like anything that's feminine, like boys cannot do ballet. Why are you dancing? You want to be one of the girls, is it? Things like that, notions.
Right.
And then power, that men must obtain power and must be competitive at all costs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So we see that from how old? When does it all begin?
When does it all? A lot of it has got to do with acculturation. So the messages that we're sending boys from a young age means that it can begin from quite young. So they pick it up, they observe our behavior, they observe our language. And so it can start depending on what kind of environment they're exposed to.
Because I guess it's very much tied with gender roles, right?
Yes,
so,
in a way.
the moment hey, it's a baby boy versus baby girl, already we're starting to imprint them with all these.
Yeah, or like girls play masa-masa, and when boys go and play, say, hey, why you want to be in the kitchen?
So what should we be saying then?
Yes, well, when they do things that seem to go against the stereotype, we don't actually have to say too much. We just allow them to do it. Be present with them, explore with them, just be curious. I know that maybe for a parent looking at that, you might feel concerned, right? I mean, it's just like, it's just like supposed to be typical, but you must understand that these are norms that are created. And it doesn't mean that we have to continue with
It's
them.
kind of funny because growing up, right, boys don't play with dolls, they don't wear pink, they don't, they don't play with pink stuff. But growing up as men, it's cool. I see a guy in a pink shirt, I think it's awesome. Pink shirt,
Exactly.
pink shorts, I think it's cool.
Yeah, and that's expressing their individuality. I think we must see this as a platform for expression.
Yeah.
And things that don't get expressed can become, the opposite of that is suppression. And then if they don't get a chance to, well, it's no wonder that next time when we ask them to talk about how they feel, talk about what they like, they will just stick to I just want to look a certain way. And that's why it's toxic to the men, right, in the long run.
Okay, I see now. So why is it important for us to be aware of it, of toxic masculinity?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if men don't become familiar with their emotions, then it can prevent them from seeking help when they are struggling. So maybe they're going through a difficult time at the workplace or even in their domestic life, but they want to maintain that bravado and they don't speak up. So what happens is that they could turn to substances to try to alleviate that pain, or they might, just sink deeper and deeper. So men's depression could be something that could occur after months or years of suppressing their emotions.
Wow, that can be a very serious sort of outcome from the whole thing.
Yeah, and then they don't seek help, right? Because you seek help, you're weak. You just tahan,
or crying.
Yes,
like
exactly.
crying is such a sign of weakness amongst men. I know there's a movement lately, for guys to actually be open and vulnerable with their emotions, and crying is okay, especially amongst a group of guys that come together. Their support friends and network. So hopefully, do you see more of that happening? At home, at workplace.
I mean, I think that when men are prepared to challenge what is the norm, and also they must feel safe. I think there must be trust and safety. For that to happen, then you do see that there are increased numbers of people who are willing to give it a go. Yeah, but should they do that and face rejection, then they will just go back to the original mode of
I feel bad
behaving,
because I really take for granted that men might need an outlet as well. Maybe not to the extreme of actually crying about it, but just to be able to talk about it, share about their emotions and not be judged because hey, you guy, why are you talking about this? I kind of feel bad. Today I will ask my husband, hello, you want to
but if they've been doing it like 40, 50 years, you even just asking a question, it doesn't mean that they will want to unpack it straight away.
No, that's true.
Right?
That's true. I think, like you said, develop that trust, like let him know, like let my husband know that, hey, if you want to talk about it, you're safe here with me.
Is that the right way, or do we just start playing video games with them and then wait for them to talk or cook a meal? And
they do it. Yeah, it's true that through action they are more willing to open up because that feels safe. I'm in familiar grounds. But if you say we need to talk, what will your husband do? Siam lah.
Yeah.
Because it's like something is they were going to confront me about something, I'm busy, or they will just go and like deny or distract. Because that is their typical mechanism lah. But if you're doing something together, then you bring up something, maybe it's a bit more, it's an easier way in. Yeah, but
probably
also
more organic as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting topic this morning, toxic masculinity. Hey, if you have any questions or maybe you got a story to share, you can WhatsApp in 88550913 or join the discussion on Facebook. We're there, facebook.com/1FM91.3. More with Yeo Sha-En in just a bit. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Wow,
Happy
wow.
Monday to you. This is a really great topic.
It is a very big topic, but Sha-En, you are the expert, the best person we can possibly have to talk about this.
Yeah.
Have you had any personal encounters with toxic masculinity growing up?
I think it's maybe because I'm a girl, maybe it was more on the receiving end, right? When behaviors such as being a bit more violent or aggressive, like pushing.
Sure.
Yeah, not say physically, but like even with your words or just asserting that dominance. So maybe I received it in the sense that I observed it happen. So I guess I wouldn't say I knew what it was called at that time. I just felt like, hey, why always need to be so fierce? Yeah. Whereas for us, we were kind of taught to be like gentle, soft, sweet, right?
I think
So
the other
even
thing
things
is
like that.
a lot of boys were always made to feel like they had to protect
Yes.
those around them. You know what I mean? You're stronger, you're tougher, you're the man. You must stand up for whoever. You must protect whoever. Wow, actually quite stressful.
It is.
Yeah,
right?
and very tied to this toxic masculinity is a lot of expectation that you are mentioning placed on them, the role that they have to play. And so because of this expectation, it's like sometimes they grow up thinking, I need to be the one to bring home the bacon because it's me, I'm the man, I'm supposed to do everything more. Right? And so they put a lot of pressure on
But
themselves.
so much of that is tied into their identity, though. This is what makes me me. This is what makes a guy a man, So how do we address that, or how do we kind of recalibrate that?
Yeah, I think it's opening up conversation, as in maybe it starts with what did you hear while you were growing up? And then how about you in your lived experience? What is it like for you? What was working for you and what doesn't work for you? When are the times when these stereotypes proved true for you? And when are the times when it didn't? Because we never ask these questions.
Yeah.
We just assume that it's fine, what?
True.
They don't talk about it, so fine, no? But it doesn't actually mean that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you say, like, it's not just expectations that are placed on, I mean, I kind of expect it from my husband that he behaves in this certain way as well. And I just take it for granted. I never ever question.
What if a guy is happy to fulfill those roles?
Yeah, and why not? I mean, just like, a man who stays at home to look after the children. Why not?
Yeah.
I think we need to start asking why not. I mean, vice versa is the same as well, right? Just like a lot of women want to go out to work. They want to be the high-flying corporate lady. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just play
I like
different
that.
roles.
Why not?
Very empowering.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So, husband, you'll be doing more housework from now on. Why not? Why not?
These are the 2 words Lavinia is going to take away for the rest of the session.
Did you grow up with any toxic masculinity at home?
Would it be strange if I said that it was kind of masculinity was placed on me? Because in my family, it was just my sister and I, my older sister and I found that I was adopting more sort of like roles of the son because there's only 2 of us, so like fixing things around the house,
Yeah, I
changing
did that
light
too.
bulbs, you know what I mean? Because I was the
DVD
younger
broken
one.
is me to fix.
Yeah, right. So I think in a way, and I did grow up as a tomboy for quite like short hair.
But then where's the line between, being an independent woman and, it's toxic masculinity? Where's the line?
True.
Yeah.
Hard to define, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, awareness. I think it starts from awareness. Like, how is it impacting you? Like, if you feel that you have to, then that is probably a sign, right? I have to do this because of this, right? Rather than I want to do it. Yeah, but you may not be conscious of it in the start. So I think it always starts with being conscious about how a certain behavior is impacting you. And I mean, people who are in the workplace as well, you may experience like a group of guys perhaps standing around during the coffee break, and suddenly they start talking about the women in the office, right? Like what they look like. I mean, this does happen.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real, right?
Okay.
And so you can be aware first of all that such things are happening.
Okay, going to jump back live on air for this discussion.
Yeah.
Very intriguing. I love it. All right, join us. I want to say good morning to Shu Ching. Rick Astley and Never Gonna Give You Up here on 1FM 91.3. How I feel about shopping. Good morning. Welcome to the Brightside. You're with Carol and Lavinia. Joined in the studio by Sha-En, Yeo, Singapore's very first happiness scientist. A very interesting topic we're discussing this morning.
Yeah.
Toxic masculinity.
Yes. And can you give us some examples of what can cause toxic masculinity, or some examples of toxic masculinity itself?
Yeah. I mean, they found in some research that mothers are more likely to use emotional words and emotional content when speaking with daughters than with their sons.
I can see why that. Yeah. Okay, that's accurate. Yeah.
And just like what I said, parents are quick to comfort girls in a certain way, but allow boys to kind of pick themselves up on their own. So I mean, there are some of these from early age, and then it just goes on.
I've been discussing that as I've been discussing that as tough love.
Tough love, yeah.
Come on, don't worry, it's not that painful. It's only a small scratch. Come, get up. Yeah. Terrible. I feel so bad.
I know
now.
parents would say that to their daughters. Like I was treated that way. It's like, just because of why is it painful? Why? It's nothing. Just continue.
But you see, when we grow up, then when we have pain, not just physical pain, when we have emotional pain, the words come across to ourselves. We build these beliefs in our head that when we have pain, we dismiss it. Because there's nothing much, what? Dismiss, lor?
You know what?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm having like a light bulb moment here right now. Because
Chandelier.
as a result, right, I did not talk about my feelings for a long time.
Yeah.
Whenever I was upset about something or I was hurting, I didn't think it was okay to talk about it.
Yeah, because
I would
it's
get
not
reprimanded.
allowed, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Ding, 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 ding. Wow.
Yeah, or I mean, other examples of toxic masculinity, like acting like a bully to remain competitive advantage. Because like maybe you don't want to be bullied, so you toughen up and you behave like the bully towards other people.
And then you overdo it.
And then you overdo it. Yeah.
Hurt people,
and then
people.
Yes, exactly. Hurt people. Or, don't like to lose. Even though it's like very obvious that, you ain't gonna make it, then you're like...
I think I was raised as a guy.
I mean, you had two older brothers,
exactly,
did you not?
yeah.
So maybe your parents already pre-programmed.
That's why the environment is so important. The environment that we're exposed to, it is both, you could say it is both a minus in the sense that if there's a lot of that environmental exposure, it could be subconscious or unconscious, but then it also could flip the other way. If we are aware of this now, then can we shift the environment day by day, word by word.
I like that.
response.
Shift the environment.
Yeah.
Very
Why
interesting.
not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Can you give us
that, yeah.
Can you give us some examples of toxic masculinity at the workplace? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I mean, just now when we talked about like the guys kind of at the boardroom, for example, you know, when they say something, they take up a lot of airtime. But when a lady says something, they don't allow it, or they'll say, "Oh, you know, you had your chance already."
Oh yes. I've actually encountered that, you know, when sometimes when a girl raises something, she's seen as like complaining. But when a
Yes.
guy raises something, it's seen as a concern. It's an issue that needs to be addressed
Yes,
right now.
it's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes, yeah. So on the receiving end, I think like women or even like from other gender groups sometimes can become compromised because their airtime is not viewed as valuable.
Oh no.
So that's on the receiving end of sometimes these toxic behaviors.
How can we enlighten
Yeah.
these people?
Well,
perpetuating the
yes,
stereotype.
yeah,
It's true though,
definitely.
yeah. What
I
can
mean,
we do about it?
I
Yeah.
think, of course, the most ideal would be to speak out. I know that's difficult, but you know, we need to speak to people who can make some kind of difference, especially at the workplace. People whom you see are allies, people whom are upstanders, not bystanders. But upstanders means they are willing to stick up for you. Yeah, there's no point in going to share with someone just to vent and they can't do anything about it, simply because then there's no shift that can be made. Of course, share if you have emotional things about it, but if you really want some change to happen, then everybody has got to do something. Otherwise, it's one against many, right? And you know how that's going to turn out.
I do feel like in a male-dominated workplace, there's something like a boys' club that goes around, which
Yes.
other boys, not all boys, get into as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
good point,
right.
good
So they
point.
would
Even-
look at it and say, like, if you look weaker, you don't qualify.
Exactly. So even guys are victims themselves
Yes,
in
that's
this
true.
case.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, this
Yes, so
this
that's why
topic
it's
is
so
huge.
toxic, right?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, because it's not just women or LGBTQ, and it's also other men, you're right. Yeah, those who don't fulfill certain criteria.
Yeah, criteria.
I want to be an
Goodness.
upstander now. I will print a T-shirt. I am an upstander. Then I'll
That's
support
wonderful.
people
Give some
like,
to me.
hey, don't roll your eyes. She has a valid point to make.
Yeah, I think that's important, speaking up, you know, like say
Yeah.
during a meeting or, you know, like a mini, even if it's informal, you got to speak up for your colleagues, especially if they're making sense.
Yeah.
I think people have become afraid to do that as well as a result of the
Yes.
consequences that they might
Yes.
face. They get, you know, further ostracized and isolated and
Yes.
marginalized, especially at work. You don't want that.
Yeah.
Fascinating
Tough,
topic.
yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
if you've got any questions or experiences to share with us, WhatsApp us 88550913. Join the discussion. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/91.3. More Sha-En. More Sha-En.
I had a shower this morning.
Hey, that must have been refreshing. Yes.
In just a bit. Stay tuned.
Hit us up on WhatsApp.
You sure you showered?
You come near to me, you know already.
I get excited. Oh my goodness.
So a really great topic that we are talking about today, toxic masculinity. And as you pointed out, you know, about how the different examples, especially when it takes place at the workplace, could you mention that last point about how it's not just about, you know, the females or even the LGBT plus group, but also men themselves, those who are
Yeah.
deemed, like, what do you say, less weaker? Oh, weaker.
Weaker and not able to add to their competitive advantage.
Then they don't belong to
They
that
don't
core,
belong to
like,
that.
alpha group of
Yeah,
males.
that's right. Yeah, so they don't show up with the right behavior, so-called right, but the right is determined by the group, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
And
so-
how would it also impact? I'm really feeling this as a mom of 3 boys. Toxic masculinity we've touched on men, we've touched on women at the workplace. How about for kids?
Yeah, for kids, I think if you're a parent, I would say, and you have sons, you know, allow them to speak about their emotions, like you mentioned earlier, you know, without judgment. Just give them that space. And if they have big emotions, don't expect them to calm down straight away. I mean, when we are upset, it takes time. So we create that time and space and we say, yeah, it must be challenging to feel that way. Or you're feeling sad, angry, frustrated because some things didn't go your way. Yeah.
And
It's
just
normal.
let them feel
Yeah,
it.
and it's normal, right? And we can, in fact, invite them to express their emotions. It may not be verbal. It could be in other ways. They can draw it out. They can write it out. And maybe they might want to go and, you know, take a breather first before telling you. Yeah, but I think if we create that platform and allow it, then it becomes normal. But if we start to dismiss it, then it becomes something they should keep quiet about. Yeah.
And I must, now you're making me realize that a lot of things that, my kids, where I'd be like, this one I got to keep my eye on this behavior. I realize that actually kids are very innocent about it. They don't really think much about gender roles and all that. It's just something that they enjoy, or like my boy liking like maybe the color pink of something. It's just, he just thinks it's nice. It's nothing to do with gender roles or anything like that. So I need to remember that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the moment we put a judgment on it, then they start to make sense of the world based on what they hear.
Gumi brought up something quite interesting. He's like, what about masculine gestures in the animal world, like lions or stags fighting amongst each other? Would men have taken these natural examples in their psyche? Like they see the animal kingdom doing it, it's like, oh, this is how men behave.
I mean, we are a species of mammal as it is, right?
I mean, no doubt there's that, like when you say protective behaviors, I mean, all of this can be seen in the animal kingdom as well. Yeah, I guess we have to ask ourselves, who is it impacting? Is it impacting ourselves? Is it impacting the people around us? Are there times when it's useful? I mean, absolutely. So we cannot only see one side that it's only toxic. Sometimes there are some merits to that. So I think we need to have a balanced view.
Okay.
Right? So like if we are traveling and there's danger and the guy in our family suddenly has that strength and aggression, hey, we are grateful for that because we might be at risk.
Yeah.
Right? But if they're using that same aggression and masculinity at home when there's actually no threat, then then it's overdoing it, right? So
I do use my husband's strength when I go grocery shopping.
yeah, I was going to say,
Bring up a salient
You are
point.
strong men. Help
All
me.
right. Do you mind if we talk about, what we can do to address toxic masculinity amongst kids on air again? And was there any parting words that you wanted to share as well?
I think whichever role you're playing, if you're a guy, you can be more aware about this concept of toxic masculinity and try not to perpetuate some of the norms.
Okay.
Right.
We'll go back on air and we'll share that.
Okay.
Okay, our closing. Okay, hang tight, everybody.
Ooh, I love this one. You cannot help but move when you hear this song. Run Around by Blues Traveler. Like Sha-En and me were like, oh yeah, get a jiggle with it,
Give me a second, I gotta catch my breath. I'm running around so. Good morning, welcome to the Brightside. You're hanging out with Carol and Lavinia, joined in the studio by happiness scientist, Singapore's very first two-time TEDx speaker, best-selling author, Yeo Sha-En. Welcome back. Yay. We're wrapping up our topic of toxic masculinity this morning, and earlier on we're talking about how you can address it at work, at the workplace, with men, with women. What about kids?
Yeah, I think for kids, we need to allow them to be able to express themselves. I think instead of dismissing the emotions, if they have a big emotion, just create space, allow them to cool down. And in fact, you may even want to reflect their feelings by saying, sounds like when that person did something to you, you were really angry about it. Or it hurt you. Because we can also help them to learn how to label their emotions. Otherwise, it's just this thing that they feel. And then if it gets dismissed, it gets buried somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. And we can teach them as well to manage these challenging emotions. Maybe take a deep breath, draw it out, write it out, talk it out, walk it out. These are really helpful tools.
I like how you're sort of like, pegging it to any gender roles. It's really just the importance of them having their emotions and that their emotions are important. So it's really good.
Yes, and emotions are part of our psyche, both positive and challenging. So why is it we celebrate the positive but don't give space for those that are difficult for us?
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do better with my boys. I will. Okay, how can we, is there a better way that we can manage toxic masculinity at home or at work, even if I was the guy or I'm the person on the receiving end? Just parting words on that?
Yeah, I think if you are the guy, then I think it's about being aware. Number one, not to perpetuate some of these norms. So if you notice it, that's fine, notice it, and then maybe make a shift in your actions or your behavior. If you're a leader and you notice this, well, it's definitely no tolerance. Right, I think, you call out behavior that's unacceptable if you're a leader, and you try to foster a culture where collaboration is okay. If you make mistakes, it's also okay. And maybe even being okay with vulnerability. sharing sometimes when things may not have gone well, because then you give permission for everyone else not to just maintain that bravado. You know?
Because it can have a negative impact, not just on, the people in your life, but on yourself.
Yeah.
So that's something you really need to look out for.
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, it's not that masculinity inherently is bad. It's about when it's starting to be negative.
Yeah.
Or has a negative impact on, society, right?
Yeah. And if you're struggling, it's okay to ask for help. It's not weakness. It's just recognizing that things aren't going the way that you want at the moment, and talk to someone, or call a buddy.
Yeah.
Right, and don't just go drink it out.
Yeah.
But hey,
Don't substitute it for an addiction. Okay.
I think it's important to start the conversation.
Yes.
To start
Yes.
talking about it.
That's right. Yeah, and I think as closing words, say that like what Carol mentioned, it's a balance. There are benefits to being masculine, and I think we can celebrate those benefits. But if we do notice it going to the other end and overdoing it, then it's also something that we need to take note of, especially if it's hurting or harming yourself or other people.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sha-En. Where can people find out more about the topic?
Finding out more about the topic, I think there are many and various sources out there. Just make sure they are legit. Yeah. But I mean, feel free to drop me a question or check me on Happiness Scientist. Happy to answer your questions.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
As usual, enjoyed our chat this morning, Sha-En. Thank you so much. Now, if you missed the chat, you can catch up on the discussion on facebook.com/1FM91.3. It's The Bright Side with Carol and Lavinia.
Okay. Can we roll that?